Good evening, everyone. Hope your night here, if you're in the U.S., is going good. I'm over in Texas, so already at home, and it's 6:07 p.m. What I'm going to be working on tonight is some 4-in-1 chainmail, as well as some 6-in-1, and show you the differences between them. These are some of the very basic weaves, and really good for starting, also for children to work on. Remember, you are dealing with rings, and they are a choking hazard. Just let you know if you're doing this with kids. To start a 4-in-1, I've done some prepping here, and basically what you want to do is have 4 closed and 1 open. And this is how you're going to start the weave. You're going to take that 1 open one, and you're going to put your 4 rings. Hence the name 4-in-1. Take your 4 rings and put them on there, and we're going to close that up. Good closure there. Now, to add on to the 4-in-1, I'm going to take 1 open ring, and I'll put it on one of the side of the 2. I'm going to add 2 more rings. And I'll bring this up to the camera so you can see what we have now. If you lay it out real nicely, it's hopefully a nice little weave. Let's see if I can get it there. There, it's in the light. There we go. Let that stay there for a second, and I might take a picture of this and add it in the video. Now, if you're new to this channel, please follow me up at the top. If you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe down there at the bottom, so that you can see new tutorials and new videos. And I'm not just going to be working on chainmail in this, and I'll get to that at the end of this tutorial. Now, we have a start of a nice little 3 wide. I'm going to go ahead and make it 4. So we're going to add on another open ring and 2 more closed rings.
You're everywhere. And I can't not tell you. You know, I've been not telling you all
And
day.
we're just going to get that closed. And we're going to get it to lay down correctly here. Get it all to behave. There we go. That looks real good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to now add on a vertical line. I'm going to start moving this way because this is the width I'm going to work with right now. So to do this, I'm going to need to close off 4 rings. We're going to go ahead and close off those 4 rings.
We can take all the oaths in the world, but the fact is, most of us do harm all the time. Have you been so hurt? You know what? Just about. All I really want to do is around the lip stitch.
actually, yeah, close off those 4 rings. And now I'm going to now open up. Well, let me close off this last one. And then we're going to open up 3 rings. And we're going to start weaving another row into the chainmail. There's 1. 2. And 3. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to point it out with my pen here, is that I'm going to take this ring and this ring, and I'm going to put this open ring around those 2, and then I'm going to add in these 2 closed rings. So we're going to start off with this first one, and I'm going to go with my precision pliers, just because it makes it easier to weave it around. For that first one, get into the second one here, get on over. Okay, we got those 2 in there. We're going to put in our 2 closed rings, as long as I don't launch them across the room. Don't have a launch calendar up yet, so I might have to add that to the channel if I keep on working on chainmail. Trying to get this closure as good as I can. Okay. Now that that ring is on there, we're going to kind of rearrange our pattern down again. We get it all laid out because the next one's going to be a little bit different. If you notice, I already have a ring over here, and I'm actually going to connect to this ring and these 2 rings, and then add in this ring, so that you get exactly what I got here. 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1 ring. So the center one can be a little bit difficult because you have to get this first one here. Then you have to go under and capture these other 2. If you notice that I'm trying to go in between, right there we go. Now, where I put this next ring, it doesn't really matter because I'll move it over when I have this ring closed and have it laid down correctly. So we'll go ahead and close this ring. And there, we got it just to lay down perfect on our first go. Now, we're going to repeat the process one more time. We're going to take this 1 ring and weave it through these 3 and add in that very last ring. So, go down there, go through. There, we got them all. We're going to add in our extra ring. Don't forget to add the ring. It's not that hard to fix if you don't. But you'll have to reopen the ring, put it back in, and when dealing with aluminum, you really don't want to overwork it because this is aircraft grade aluminum, or even a medium grade aluminum, and you're going to have rings shatter on you because it's a little bit more rigid than you think. It's very light, but it's rigid. So Now you see we have 3 across the each side, and we have 4, and we have a nice little start of 4 and 1. We're going to go ahead and do one more row, and then we'll move over to this piece right here, and you'll see the difference when you get them both there of the tightness of the weave. So let's go ahead and get the next grouping in here. I'm going to go ahead and do my open rings first. And my 3. And while I'm doing this, I'm also going to show you the difference. This is the ring lords. And if you see that silver side there, they do not anodize the end. Now, this other piece I have here is done by CNT, and I'll show you the difference on anodizing. So basically what they did is that they anodized it after they had it all spooled right before they cut it. And the CNT, they actually will spool it, cut it, and then anodize. And you'll see the difference on the tips. We'll have the actual anodization on the ends, which is kind of nice. But you do pay for that. I'll just give you a warning right there. Like the ring lord, for especially if you're doing a project which is not anodized, you're just trying to do it as cheaply as possible. You're not really looking at it's just going to be something for typical use. It's not going to be a prized piece. But don't get me wrong, it's still going to look gorgeous, because these rings look really nice. They're a nice tint of blue. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go a little bit quicker here. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up one end, put it in my hand. I'm going to kind of push out the tube right here, make it go a little bit quicker. So I have my ring there, and I'm going to put on my tube because I'm at the start of the run. I'm going to close off that ring. Nice and good closure there. Then I'm going to hopefully get over here and rearrange this ring so I can get on my next one. So, and actually I'm going to start off on this side. It's a little bit easier for me, so I can go a little bit quicker. And you'll find your own method once you have the pattern down. This one on, and we'll go ahead and close this off. Okay, get in this last open ring. There we go. There. And our final ring right here. Basically it's going to give us a nice little example of a 4-in-1 weave. And I'm just going to set it down here, and we're just going to lay it out flat, make sure it sits pretty. Now, this is a 4-in-1 weave. And it's all being done with quarter 18 gauge anodized aluminum. Now, this one is a 6-in-1, and this brings up the difficulty. If you notice how it's a little bit tighter, well, if you notice that there's only one ring for every 4 rings on this one, we'll actually have to go to, well, if you look at this ring right here, we have a 4-in-1 right here, but if you go to the next one, you actually get into the 6-in-1, and it starts going and developing. So basically, when you add on a new ring, you're pulling in 2 down here at the bottom and adding 1 on the top. So we have to, it's basically going to evolve the same amount, but you won't gain as much distance because this one will stretch out. So, and you're just going to have to weave that one ring in a little bit more, and that's why I kind of did them four across here. So let me get all some open rings, and we'll do a quick run on the 6-in-1, and then we'll get on about other projects. It's going to be a real quick night. I'm trying to keep this video kind of short tonight because I just, you know, sometimes if you're doing these chainmails, I don't think you want to be sitting there and just listening to me talk about everything that's going on and watching me just create chainmail on a demonstration like this. So even though it's kind of cool, but let's get us 4 closed ones. The 6-in-1 starts similar to the 4-in-1, except for you're doing 6 rings at the beginning, and you're continuing to add on at that pattern. Okay, now I think I'm going to switch pliers. So we're dealing with a lot more weaving here. So take this one, I'm going to go through these 2, I'm going to go back around, I'm going to come up these 2, matching my other ring. I'm going to get 2 of my closed rings, 1, 2, and we're going to close that up. Hey, a jumping ring. Get back on there. We're just going to close that off. Look at that closure. That is really nice. Okay, now gets a little bit harder because now on this side we're going through 3 rings and then 2 rings on this side. So 1, 2, and 3. We'll come back around and we'll go up our 2. Oh, look. We go. We add in our 1 ring. Most movies, if you watch Fellowship of the Ring, you look at their armor, and it's not going to be like the 4-in-1. It's going to be more like the 6-in-1. Unless you're running with some very heavy gauge rings, 6-in-1's pretty much the way you want to go, because it gives a tight and beautiful pattern. Military wise, it was a little bit more protection than the 4-in-1. Oh, 4-in-1 will protect you from a slash, but not any of this stuff. because if it was done for war, each ring would be individually closed, and I'd hope they use steel or some carbon steel or stainless steel. There we go. See, that's one roll, and we'll lay it back down and let you look at how it's developing in. Much tighter weave. Much tighter weave. So, questions and comments, y'all can leave those down below about that. Now, the thing I'm going to pull out right now is what I'm going to be working on during the holiday. So I'm going to pull this two pieces back. Is I do some 3D printing. And I'm going to be working on my Han Solo blaster. And some of these parts are going to have to be sanded down so they fit appropriately. A little bit of sanding for that to fit in. But this model kit that I found that you can print out is really nice. And I will actually be putting the maker's information down below, so that if you want to print it out or print out some of the parts before, you can actually follow me. I have some parts that are in the wash getting the PVA off of them. And y'all can watch me assemble this over the Christmas holiday. Should be fun. I might even do some painting of some items that I have. I have some pilot boxes that need to have some good coats of primer and get them ready for the final paint. But the scope came out pretty nice. I got some sanding and some fill work to do on this. But it printed out as a nice model. It looks pretty accurate. The only part that's not very film accurate is the heat sink right here. And those who have done their research on it know that this is actually a heat sink for an RC airplane motor that they actually put on the actual prop in the movie. And the company still exists. And you can still get those heat sink shrouds. And basically they cut it down, cut out a portion of it so that they can slip it onto the actual prop pistol. Test it. If you look up that channel, that's Adam Savage's YouTube channel, they actually go through the build and they explain some of the parts, and it's pretty cool. This is what I'd call the poor man's version, because this is a 3D printed, and the version that they basically built on on the channel is I think it's close to nearly $500 or $600 in parts. Might do one of those one of these days. But hope y'all enjoyed. Like I said, if you like what you see, please subscribe down below. And you have a wonderful evening, and keep on crafting.